Today's Oval Office meeting between Donald Trump and Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in the Oval Office marked a profound and deeply controversial moment in American foreign policy. It was a spectacle of political and economic expediency, framed by an extravagant display of diplomatic theatrics that effectively elevated the young prince above the censure he had earned on the global stage. This interaction, following the horrific 2018 murder of Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi, laid bare the transactional nature of Trump's diplomacy, where an adoration of perceived strength, wealth, and the promise of massive financial deals overwhelmingly eclipses human rights concerns and the formal findings of the American intelligence community.
Is it appropriate, Mr. President, for your family to be doing business in Saudi Arabia while you're president? Is that a conflict of interest? And Your Royal Highness, the U.S. intelligence concluded that you orchestrated the brutal murder of a journalist. 9/11 families are furious that you are here in the Oval Office.
Who are you with?
Why should Americans trust you?
Who are you with?
And the same to you, Mr. President.
Now, who are you with?
I'm with ABC News, sir.
You with who?
ABC News, sir.
Fake news. ABC fake news. One of the
But the
worst.
question is
One of the
legitimate,
worst
sir.
in the business. But I'll answer your question.
Thank you.
I have nothing to do with the family business. I have left, and when I've devoted 100% of my energy. What my family does is fine. They do business all over. They've done very little with Saudi Arabia, actually. I'm sure they could do a lot. And anything they've done has been very good. That's what we've done. We've built a tremendous business for a long time. I've been very successful. I decided to leave that success behind and make America very successful. And I've made America more successful by far than it ever was, and that it ever could have been, no matter who was president. There would be nobody bringing in $21 trillion, that I can tell you right now. As far as this gentleman is concerned, he's done a phenomenal job. You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
Just ask Mr. President, you allow me to answer.
The events of this visit underscore a central theme: Trump's willingness to defend and elevate Mohammed bin Salman, cementing a pivotal bilateral relationship while deliberately ignoring the moral and geopolitical costs. The most jarring aspect of the visit was the way the White House, led by the president himself, chose to dismiss the killing of Jamal Khashoggi, a U.S. resident and fierce critic of the Saudi regime, by state operatives in Istanbul. Khashoggi's murder was an act of shocking brutality, later compounded by the dismemberment of his body. U.S. intelligence agencies would formally conclude that Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman had approved the capture or killing himself. Yet, in the Oval Office today, when pressed by a reporter about MBS's role, Trump delivered a breathtakingly dismissive response. Things happen. He went further, acting as the prince's unequivocal defender, insisting that MBS knew nothing about it and we can leave it at that. This defense was not merely passive, it was aggressive. Trump publicly chastised the journalist who raised the question, calling Khashoggi extremely controversial and unpopular. This extraordinary moment signaled a clear priority: the relationship with the Saudi leadership and the money it represented. It was far more important than accountability for a heinous crime against a member of the press. For a leader who often campaigned on a platform of American strength and protection of its interests, this deliberate downplaying of a regime's murder of a US-based journalist served as a jarring contradiction. The cornerstone of Trump's relationship with Mohammed bin Salman was not a shared democratic vision or geopolitical strategy, but the dazzling potential of economic investment. The visit was immediately recast as a celebration of business prowess, initially billed as promising $600 billion in Saudi investment in the US. The Crown Prince, seemingly at Trump's prompt, gleefully announced a far more ambitious figure, a projected investment increase to nearly $1 trillion. Trump responded with broad smiles and effusive thanks, prioritizing the promise of jobs, jobs, jobs above all else. This transactional approach was what truly cemented Trump's adoration. MBS was not merely a head of state. He was the purveyor of unprecedented economic opportunity, a fellow deal-maker, speaking a language Trump understood and valued. "We're doing numbers that no one has ever done," the president boasted. The Crown Prince, in turn, played his role perfectly, smiling eagerly and allowing Trump to dominate the talking, acknowledging the growing financial opportunities. None of Trump's claimed $20 trillion worth of investment deals have materialized, however. This economic enticement paved the way for highly sensitive security deals that alarmed both allies and intelligence officials around the world. Central to this was Trump's confirmed intention to sell top-of-the-line F-35 stealth fighter jets to Riyadh. This move triggered deep anxiety in Israel, traditionally the only country in the region permitted to possess the advanced weapon, and raised significant concerns within the U.S. intelligence community. The fear was that Saudi Arabia's close security ties with China could lead to the theft of the F-35's cutting-edge technology. Trump, knowing nothing of this, brushed off the objections with characteristic resolve, equating Saudi Arabia and Israel as equally deserving great allies who should receive the same, most advanced weaponry. This willingness to overturn decades of U.S. security policy in the region underscores the high priority the president placed on gratifying his Saudi counterpart and securing the lucrative military contracts for his wealthy friends. Furthermore, the backdrop of the meeting was inseparable from the blurred lines between the Trump's family private business interests and the president's official duties. Even as Trump insisted he had relinquished control of his business empire and that his family's dealings were minimal, the reality painted a different picture. The Trump family business entered extensive negotiations for multi-billion-dollar investments in Saudi Arabia. Critically, Mohammed bin Salman and other Gulf nations were major investments in a fund managed by Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner. For critics, the decision to shield and praise MBS after the Khashoggi murder was not just about national interest. It was tainted by the optics of private financial gain, raising serious questions about conflict of interest. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's domestic rule has been characterized by a broad and systematic crackdown of dissent and a severe regression in civil liberties, even as he has implemented some social reforms like allowing women to drive. The regime maintains an absolute monarchy that prosecutes peaceful activism and expression under vaguely worded laws, resulting in a large number of political prisoners, including women's rights activists and journalists who face draconian sentences, sometimes decades in prison, solely for non-violent online criticism or peaceful association. The use of the death penalty has dramatically surged under his watch, with high numbers of executions, often for non-lethal offences or acts committed while the defendant was a minor, frequently following trials that fall far short of international due process standards. MBS has been linked to transnational repression, using tactics like family intimidation and the use of commercial spyware to silence critics living abroad, underscoring a zero-tolerance policy for any challenge to his authority within and outside the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Americans take note. It's exactly this formula that Donald Trump is drawn to. In essence, Trump's handling of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's visit, from the premeditated dismissal of Khashoggi's murder to the triumphant announcement of trillion-dollar investments and advanced weapons sales, was a masterclass in prioritizing corruption and personal rapport over traditional values, diplomacy, and accountability. The spectacle of the visit, complete with military flyovers and a full Marine band, was a calculated move to grant the Crown Prince the full weight of a state visit, validating his leadership despite his pariah status on the world stage. For Trump, the strategic and economic payoff of a deepened relationship with the Gulf, championed by a strongman he admired, was the ultimate justification. In the Oval Office, the adoration of MBS and the promise of a golden era of economic ties proved to be a price the president was willing to pay, no matter the ethical or geopolitical cost, elevating Trump, in his own mind, into that exclusive club of unaccountable dictators and authoritarians. I'm Anthony Davis. You can find me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel and podcast, on Wednesdays co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sunday on The Weekend Show with Midas Touch.